It's funny, between Prophet altering my body cybernetically and Weaver, well, I suppose it could be said, altered my body spiritually. Didn't know who I was, and everyone wants to keep me alive because I'm a librarian. Given the choice, I don't know if I'd keep living. But I'm here, and I wanted a new start, and I guess that's what I have. Anyway, getting back to what I see, I took off the helmet and I looked out over the desert. Now, luckily, because I'm this far out in the wasteland, there's not a lot of radio frequencies. There's a lot of distant noise that can be heard up in the stratosphere, and you can look up there, and if you strain yourself, it's like hearing, like a party or something happening down the block. You'll hear echoes and voices, and sometimes they well up around you. And maybe they're conversations that are happening or radio traffic. It's like if you tuned in, you'd hear it. This strange mixture of signal traffic, everything traveling through the air. If I was in a city, I probably would have gone mad. It would be too much. There'd be too much traffic. Cellular conversations, digital mediums, instant messaging, everything's wireless. I can understand why the Dreadmen would want to avoid the inner city. Even the megas, I mean, even the fringes, there's always, pirate radio stations and everything that would come to pass. But more than hearing it, at distance you see things as well. Sometimes I'll see strange shapes, creatures, things that might look like angels, or even like, how do you explain a shapeless thing to someone? How do you explain how your brain takes a radio signal and makes it into a creature? I looked around inside of the downed craft, and thankfully all the electronics were gone, but you can see echoes like skeletons. You begin to see digital echoes. Signatures left so subtly that you wouldn't even pick it up. But with your mind, you're able to combine what you see with what you hear, the knowledge you have in the past, and it all combines together to make pictures inside of yourself. Sometimes radio equipment seems to stand out as though it's painted in neon. It doesn't do anything, but you can see it more easily. Like if you were to take something that had been broadcasting and had that slight resonance signal on it, a Dreadman would be able to line up 6 capacitors and know which ones were used and which ones weren't, or circuitry. I suppose in a way it'd be good to know if your equipment you're buying is new or not. So I sat underneath the wing of the plane for a while and just watched the colors in the stratosphere and watched the traveling. It's kind of like watching clouds, but seeing shapes. I was waiting for the stay-awake drugs that had been pumped in my system to just sort of fade out. Wanted them to wear off so I could try to get some sleep. As I sat, I couldn't help but think about what Weaver had said to me. Talking about looking for X. I mean, what is X? I don't know what X is. I went in there trying to discover who I am, and he winds up shoving a bunch of hardware into my mind and telling me I'm on a quest to go find X. And I didn't know what X could mean. I mean, what does that mean, I was so far away from any kind of communication or medium. You gotta understand, like, when I got out of the rack there, I was able to download my Ghost. I didn't talk much about that. All of your memories and essential data can be shadowed now to hardware. I can't really get too into it because I don't understand it all myself, but essentially what happens is that if you've got a set of memories or knowledge or information that you wish to have hard-coded, if you've got the implant so you can read hard-coded data, you can download that information so you can remember certain things. This became very popular after they figured out that life extension had a very strong opportunity to destroy memories and things like that. it was an expensive process, but of course, like everything else, it became somewhat commonplace. So when I got out of the camp, it's easy to download information, to reach out over a very low bandwidth radio signal and download this data, which I was able to do. But actually searching things out over the web, I mean, the web interface now is so involved, especially if you're using eyes or you've got the hardware that I have. I mean, it's a major bandwidth thing, out here in the sticks out here, well, past the sticks, you should say. It's very, very difficult. So you need to have a solid connection. You need to have a serious, antenna. And that's not something that I had. I mean, this isn't something you can jerry-rig, I mean, I could probably, if I had some working parts like a radio, I could make it happen, but you can't just make it out of scrap. You got to have some basic components. It's about every kid knows how to build a directional antenna so you could point it at a city to get online. Just like, kids used to know how to carve wood or go fishing. Now we know how to make sure we have a solid network connection. So, but, I mean, everything in this plane was rotted out. I had nothing to even build the antenna out of. So it was a bit of a go. And for that matter, I had no idea how far I would have to reach. I know I was a long ways away from anything. I mean, if you're only a few miles out from the city, you can pretty much build it out of a piece of pipe. But the kind of distance I'm talking, it's a bit too far to try to fake it. You know what I mean? So, if I had a network connection, if I could get on the web, I could try to do some research, try to figure out where this Kingdom of Nod is. Where the hell is Kingdom of Nod? I know that biblically it had something to do with Cain and Abel. And Cain and Abel were these brothers, and one brother killed the other brother, and I guess God got all ticked off about it and put a mark on him and sent him out into the land of Nod. So I don't know what that meant. Like, am I supposed to go find Cain? Is that what X is? Is an X a who or a what? I had no idea, and I'm sitting there just trying to figure this out. I'm reaching out and amongst the radio traffic, and I tried to listen in. Maybe I could pick up something, because I don't have much experience doing this whole Dreadman thing. So I just sort of was trying to focus on what direction to go. I mean, I didn't even know where I'm supposed to go from here. I briefly entertained the notion of just setting up camp here in this burned out plane. This chair is pretty comfortable, I'll tell you that. And since, with the legs and everything, sitting outside, I could just stretch it out. I felt like it was this weird trailer park. I'm the only resident. So I sat there, staring out into the heat waves and listening to the radio traffic. And in the heat of the desert, the sun, it was about midday. I spent the whole morning just sort of watching the radio traffic in the distance. Middle of the day, throughout the heat, I saw something coming right out of the rippling waves off the heat of the desert. There was a dark shape that was coming. Immediately, I grabbed my helmet and slapped it back on my head so I could get a range finding on it. I didn't know what it was, and that's a cause for some alarm when things like that happen. So I threw the helmet on, and it wasn't there. The helmet didn't pick up anything. There was nothing there. The radio traffic stopped, and there was this eerie silence. I mean, I'd gotten so used to hearing the traffic that putting the helmet on, it was like someone turned the music off. It was just bizarre. I turned on the telescopics and changed the visual away from white to black, black to white, looking for anything in range, throwing out sonar signals, everything, but there was nothing in the distance. There was nothing there. So I took the helmet back off again, and there, standing maybe 200 feet away, large of life, was this thing standing like there's no way that the helmet wouldn't have seen it. I mean, there's rumors of stealth technology and stuff, but not like this. This was